A lot of criticism has been levied towards Doom Eternal since it came out on Friday of last week. Some of it is valid, with the criticism against the Marauder, for example. In fact, I made a whole video talking about some of the things that I loved about Doom Eternal, and one of the things that I absolutely hated was the Marauder, but there are also some invalid criticisms of the game as well. For instance, the platforming. A lot of people don't like the platforming, and also the combat as well. But first, let me talk about the platforming. I don't get the criticism when it comes to the platforming of the video game. I am probably below average to average when it comes to platforming in video games. I don't really have a lot of experience with platforming in video games, and for some weird reason, I was able to get through levels, especially some of the later levels, with ease. There were times where I was just able to get through the levels that are specifically designated for platforming, usually on my first try. If I fell off, if I made a mistake, it was usually my own fault, and it was usually because I was doing something pretty stupid. I was able to get through some of these levels in like 30 seconds. I'm like, and get right back into the action too, which is one of the weird things whenever people talk about the platforming. They talk about it in a sense of it breaks up the pacing of the game, but I found the platforming extremely easy. I mean, I know you're watching some of my gameplay of the platforming. I mean, like, people complained about the fire traps in one of the first levels of the game, and I'm like, this is like Super Mario level easy. Like, this is, you just jump and double dash. This isn't very difficult. I didn't really get it. I still don't get why there's criticism of the platforming. It's easy, and I'm average to below average when it comes to platforming. I don't get the criticism of the platforming. It's easy. The second thing that I noticed that had a lot of criticism levied towards it was for the combat. And let me just say this kind of irks me sometimes whenever I see people who have bad gameplay talk about a game in a negative way, and they have a flawed perspective because they are technically, they're bad at the game. They have bad core mechanics, and they're playing the game horribly. And that's what I saw with a lot of the gameplay for Doom Eternal, for a lot of people with strong opinions on this game sucks, and the gameplay sucks, and the game is bad. But I found it so ironic that people had bad gameplay and they were complaining about the game being bad, because that's literally what Dean Takahashi, the guy who had the terrible Cuphead gameplay and the terrible Doom Eternal gameplay, that's what he got lambasted for and just absolutely eviscerated for by the internet. And then you also have the IGN reviewer of Doom 2016, he got blasted for it by me. I hated his gameplay. I'm not going to mention specifically people who had terrible Doom Eternal gameplay, because really the list is quite long, but I've seen some people just be like, the gameplay sucks, it's terrible, I hate it. I'm like, dude, your core mechanics are bad. I'm not expecting people to play the video game like Shroud. Shroud is a former ex-professional gamer. He is a professional streamer. He's a top-tier talent when it comes to first-person shooters. I'm not expecting anyone to play that way. I don't think id Software is expecting anyone to play like Shroud. However, you can master the core mechanics in this video game very, very easily. Take me, for example. Yet again, I am below average when it comes to first-person shooters. I try, I fail a lot. I don't have the natural talent, I don't have the experience, but I can learn how to play these video games. I learned how to play Doom Eternal. The level that you're seeing me play on right now is the exact same level that I just showed you that Shroud was playing on. And I'm having some issues, I'm having some difficulty, but you can see that my movements are similar to his. I think it's a little bit ridiculous when people criticize a video game when they don't develop their core mechanics, when they don't build a good foundation of core mechanics for the video game that they're playing, and then they don't tend to improve upon those core mechanics, and then they're like, well, the game sucks. And it's like, well, the game would be easier for you to play and much, much more funner if you had developed, if you had played the game properly, if you had learned the core mechanics, and if you had gotten better at the game. I think, to be honest with you, and this makes me sound a little bit like an asshole, but I think a lot of people who have a problem with this game are bad at the game. Like, that's just the reality of the circumstances. Like, I watch people play this video game, and I'm like, oh, you're just not very good at the game, and that's why you're struggling to play the game, and that's why this game is very, very frustrating for you, because you're just, like, unfortunately, you're just bad at the video game. The thing that's oxymoronic to me about Doom Eternal is that it teaches you how to be good at the video game. It teaches you how to get better. There's lower difficulty settings, there's cheat codes, there's ways to work around the difficulty in the game. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I think gamers think that they're better at video games than they actually are, and it kind of comes to a head when people are trying to play a game like Doom Eternal, which is easy to learn, kind of hard to master, but the gameplay itself is very, very rewarding and very, very consumable for gamers. This has been 24. Remember to like, comment, favorite, and subscribe for more. until my next video, I hope you have a fantastic day, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.